Welcome to Behind the Scenes at Andrew Pickett Law, bringing excellence, compassion, and relentless advocacy to life's toughest moments. From car accidents to insurance battles, we guide, support, and advocate for you every step of the way. Hi, my name is Andrew Pickett. I'm the owner of Andrew Pickett Law. We specialize in personal injury and auto accident cases. And I'm here today with Tiffany Whitehouse, an attorney at my office. Hi, Tiffany.
Hey, Andrew. Hey, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so today I want to talk to you about why not just go out this alone. So before we really dive into this, what is one thing that you think everyone needs to know about trying to deal with the insurance companies on their own?
So I think everybody should know that the insurance companies are not there to protect them. And a lot of people, when they're involved in an accident, they just have the assumption that the insurance company is going to take care of them. And I think people get kind of convinced by the marketing that the insurance companies do. You know, you're in good hands with Allstate or State Farm's a good neighbor. When you get into an accident, you find out that those slogans are not true. And a lot of people are pretty surprised by that when they find out that the insurance company is not there to protect them. And so I think what everybody should know is that the insurance company's main objective is to pay out as little as possible because they're trying to make money for their shareholders. And so the less they pay out, the more money they can make. And so that would be the biggest thing that I would want people to know.
So does that apply to your own insurance company as well?
It really does. And I think that's where people are most surprised is that when the idea is that when you pay premiums to buy insurance, and as we all know, it's getting more and more expensive to buy insurance, that when the time comes, they're going to take care of you. Well, that is rarely the case. And so a lot of people are disillusioned with that, and they don't realize it until they get into an accident that they're not going to get taken care of, which is why it's so important to hire a lawyer.
So what drives you to want to go head to head with these insurance companies?
So I think I've just always been somebody who doesn't like bullies. And when I see people being taken advantage of, it really motivates me. And I see that day in and day out with insurance companies. And so battling insurance companies gives me the opportunity to level the playing field because once somebody has me representing them, they're going to have every advantage that the insurance company has as far as ability, skills, and resources.
So how does that apply if someone feels like maybe they haven't been that injured in an accident? Can they do it on their own?
Yes, somebody could represent themselves, but it is rarely, if ever, going to be more advantageous to handle a case on your own. And the reason for that is that the insurance companies know that if they're dealing with somebody who is unrepresented, meaning they don't have an attorney, then there's never going to be any threat that a lawsuit is going to be filed. There's never going to be any threat that they're going to go to trial. And so it gives them even more incentive to lowball the individual clients by just offering them a very low amount. And so what we see a lot, and we think we've talked about this a little bit before, is that insurance companies will have entire departments that are solely dealing with unrepresented people, meaning people who don't have an attorneys. And a lot of them have people in that division literally go to people's houses within days of the accident to try to offer them a settlement check. And they try to be really generous about how they explain it. Oh, we're going to pay for all your medical bills, as if that's some sort of gift. And a lot of people don't realize that medical bills are only one part of your case. What really gets me is when I hear about that type of behavior, especially with elderly people. And some of the insurance companies are targeting elderly people by showing up at their house and offering them a $5,000 check and acting like it's a big act of generosity when 2 or 3 days after the accident, you may not know anything about what your injuries are. And so I always tell people you never want to accept the insurance company's first offer and never accept the settlement offer without talking to an attorney.
What are some of the tactics that the insurance companies use that most people don't know about?
So a few come to mind. One is the insurance companies will do what's called surveillance, where they will hire private investigators to snoop around and secretly record videos of people. And their purpose in doing that is to try to catch somebody doing something that seems to be inconsistent with their injury. And a lot of people don't realize that at any time after they file a claim, they could be subject to having somebody follow them around and, potentially even harassing them. And that happens more common once the lawsuit is filed, but it could really happen at any time. So that's one thing, is surveillance. Another thing is that the insurance companies will often also snoop around on people's social media pages. And I've even heard of examples where they will um, create a fake profile and add somebody as a friend so they can see all of their pictures. And and they'll try to find pictures of somebody doing some sort of physical activity that, again, they argue is inconsistent with an injury. So a lot of people don't realize that that's being done. Um, I've also heard of the insurance companies trying to talk to family members and relatives and like not disclosing that they're from the insurance company to try to get that family member or friend to say something that will be harmful to the person's case. So all sorts of tactics to be on the lookout for if you're ever in an accident.
And so it feels like we're learning, definitely don't add friends on social media that you don't know.
That's probably good advice in general,
um,
but certainly when you're in an accident, be careful about that.
so, you kind of talked about the tactics that insurance companies use. How does hiring a lawyer help a client deal with that?
So we just, at the outside of the representation, let the client know everything that could happen throughout the whole process. And certainly once we're in litigation, we have a real serious discussion about surveillance and making sure that the clients are aware they could be followed at any time. We also will generally advise the clients to make all their social media private so that the insurance companies aren't snooping around. Now, they can't go deleting things or anything, but they certainly shouldn't make their whole lives an open book to be able to be accessed by anybody, including an insurance company. And so we're able to anticipate some of these things that the insurance companies are doing and minimize the effects so that the client isn't caught off guard.
What difference do you think it makes in negotiations and settlements to have a lawyer?
I think it makes all the difference in the world because, as I mentioned earlier, not having a lawyer communicates to the insurance company that they're never going to have any risk in the case. And so, what I mean by that is that the insurance company could offer a really low amount to settle the case to an unrepresented person, knowing that that unrepresented person is never going to be able to file a lawsuit on their own or go to trial on their own. And so, there's really no consequence to a low settlement offer if you don't have an attorney. But if you do have an attorney and the insurance company makes a lowball offer, the insurance company can file a lawsuit or the insurance company can take the case to trial, which then creates a lot more risk for the insurance company because if a case goes to trial, they could be on the hook for a verdict that is much higher than whatever that previous offer was. So, in my experience, it's always advantageous to have a lawyer.
Do you have any examples of times that the insurance company like underestimated your preparation?
So, we see that a lot generally, and kind of the difference between the settlement offers that we get before a lawsuit is filed versus after a lawsuit is filed. So before a lawsuit is filed, especially in the last couple of years, we're seeing really low offers, even on very serious injury cases. And it's almost as if the insurance companies are daring us to file a lawsuit. And then we file a lawsuit and all of a sudden the offer gets a lot better. And so I think we're frequently underestimated in the pre-suit phase based on this approach of just making across the board low offers.
You talked previously about how not all law firms are the same. Is it your experience that there are some firms that just they'll accept these kinds of settlements?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why the insurance companies do it because there are a lot of law firms out there who will just take the first offer or who will do the best they can, but never be willing to file a lawsuit. And that just drives settlement values down for everybody. And so the adjusters, knowing that a lot of firms will accept low offers, they'll just try that in every case. And like I said, it's almost like they're daring the lawyer to file a lawsuit. And once the lawyer files a lawsuit and they know that they're serious, then the offers start to be taken a lot more seriously.
You've talked about before unreasonable hospitality being the standard. What does that mean for the clients in your practice?
So we want clients to come to this law firm and leave the experience with their expectations being exceeded. A lot of people who come to us have never dealt with a lawyer before. And they may have a perception that the lawyer is going to be like cold and distant and just all about business. And what we really try and do is we try to make the clients feel warm and taken care of, and that we're really holding their hand every step of the way. So I think for us, unreasonable hospitality means going above and beyond and delivering the clients the experience that far exceeds what they expected when they started the representation.
And how do those values guide the team when a case becomes difficult or emotional?
So I think our team, including you, has been really good at embracing this idea of being compassionate and really caring about clients as human beings and really being patient with clients. And what that requires sometimes is that we put ourselves in the client's shoes because a lot of times we're dealing with clients who are at the worst part in their lives. And sometimes their frustration can come across as anger, and that takes a lot of patience from our staff to deal with. But we have to remind ourselves that they're going through a really hard time, and what they need from us is reassurance. And so when our staff is able to deliver that, our clients really appreciate it, and we can get through those tough times together.
Yeah. And my personal experiences here has just been that like compassionate care for the client has been really like the zenith of everything that we're working on here and giving that representation with that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times it's the clients who are frustrated. They just want to be heard. They just want to tell their story and feel like they're being heard and listened to. And once they kind of vent and they feel heard by us, I think that it makes them feel a lot more reassured because they're not getting that in other aspects of their life.
Yeah. I think that the way to establish rapport has been through that and that's been really successful. So if someone asked why they should trust Andrew Pickett Law with their case, what would you say?
I would say that they're hiring the best of the best to represent them, and they're hiring somebody who's going to leave no stone unturned in the investigation, who's going to treat every client with dignity and respect, and go as far as we need to get the best possible result. And so I'm confident that the results that we get for our clients are as good, if not better, than anybody around. And so when they make the decision to hire us, they know that we're going to give it our all to represent them.
If you had to sum up Andrew Pickett Law in one sentence, what would it be?
So I think one sentence might be hard, although we have given a lot of thought into our core values. And I think the three words that we have come up with that best embody our approach to our clients as well as our team's dedication is excellence, compassion, and relentlessness. And that's how we approach our cases from start to finish. And that's how our team members approach every interaction with the clients.
I really like that. I like that relentlessness, but also balanced with the compassion. And then, of course, excellence is necessary in order to do this.
So when we were thinking about these core values, we were really trying to balance ideals that we really live by. And I think a lot of attorneys want to be perceived as being aggressive. And there certainly is time to be aggressive in litigation, but that's not always how you need to be. And what we want to have is that relentlessness being balanced by compassion. I once had a judge say to me, you can be adversarial without being contentious. And so we want our clients and our opposing attorneys to know that we're going to be a force to be reckoned with, but we're going to do it with dignity and with compassion and with professionalism. And I think that would be what somebody could expect if they hire us.
I really love that. I love that. Well, thank you. That's all I have for you today. I appreciate you having me come in.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. Enjoy chatting with you.
Thanks for listening to Behind the Scenes at Andrew Pickett Law, where we fight for you every step of the way.